I'm Joanna Garzilli. You're watching Life Stories. Today, my guest is Amberly Lago, author of True Grit and Grace, and she's a motivational speaker. Amberly, welcome to Life Stories.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
And I love how the color of your dress goes with the true and True Grit and Grace.
And how about that? I didn't even plan it, but I'm glad I match.
What was your favorite color as a child?
I think it's always been turquoise, like a blue. I've always been like gravitated towards blues and the sky. Like I love the sky. I could just, when I see sky, I'm like, oh, that's art. So I think blue, yeah.
And when you say sky, what else is that feeling that it connects you to within yourself?
You know what? I think it represents freedom. I think it represents that there's so much out in the universe that's bigger than us, that we're connected to. For me, I love going in nature just to be grounded and I feel like God speaks to me through nature, through your smile. And so for me, when everything is so hectic and busy and it just seems like nowadays everything's just nonstop, if I can go outside and be in nature and just that's where I gather my energy, my peace at the same time. And so that's why I think I love just being in nature so much.
And where did you grow up? Because I hear this amazing accent.
I know, the both of us together, right? We're a pair. I grew up in a small town in Texas outside of Dallas. I grew up in a really small town in a really big family, a blended family. There were 7 of us kids. And so when we would go out to eat, people would say, oh, whose birthday is it? And it's like, no, it's just our family. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you fit in within the family? I mean, what was a typical dynamic? Did you have to speak up to be heard? Were you quiet?
Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful for the way that I was raised because we didn't have a lot of money, and if we wanted something, we had to work for it. And so it really taught me the value of the dollar. And also, I had an older brother that used to beat the crap out of me. And I mean, I can laugh about it now, and we can both laugh about it now, but it taught me to stand up for myself. And later in life, it taught me, I took up boxing and Muay Thai, and I did Krav Maga, and I've got a belt in Krav Maga. And I know, like, I'm in a little dress, but I remember when my husband, who's like 6'4", he's a huge guy, was a lieutenant with the highway patrol, and when we first started dating, he was like, oh yeah, you think you're tough, Miss Krav Maga girl, get out of this one. And he would like try to put me and I would get out. And so we still joke about that, but like things that happen in your childhood, you can either let that turn you into like a victimhood, or you can go, okay, what is this teaching me and what am I going to do with it? And for me, I thought, I want to be able to defend myself. I want to feel strong. I want to feel confident when I walk down the street that I can take care of myself.
Where did that feeling come from that you had the need to defend yourself? Because I imagine other people growing up wouldn't necessarily have had that.
I don't think it's something that a lot of people talk about. And because it's hard to talk about it, but I didn't have the easiest childhood, as a lot of us don't. I mean, I was sexually abused by my stepfather. My older brother was just physically abusive. And I'm not talking about kid stuff, pushing around, that kind of thing. I'm talking about it wasn't normal at the time. I didn't know I thought, well, this just must be normal. But I'm like, no, it's not normal to get punched in the face. And so I don't think a lot of people talk about it. Well, I mean, I know I grew up where it wasn't okay to talk about it. Like everything looks okay on the outside, but really what's going on underneath is just not okay. And so I think that that can lead you down a road of destructive behaviors in dealing when you're not talking about pain that you have, or whether that's emotional or physical. For me, it turned into, you know, drinking too much, shopping too much, eating too much, like doing everything I could to not deal with those feelings, but instead stuff them down. And so I think that we need to talk about it more. I think that people need to know that they're not alone, that this sort of thing happens and that you can talk about it. There are ways to get out of that, to feel safe, to protect yourself, and that's the hardest thing, like just having the courage to reach out. And you have to know that you're reaching out to a safe community, someone that you can trust.
So at what point did you build enough courage to be able to talk about it, or to...
Oh gosh, I didn't talk about it for a long, long time. In fact, you know, when I was little, I was so scared that my stepfather would hurt my mom. And I didn't want to hurt her. And so I didn't want to talk about it to anyone. I did tell my dad, and the abuse finally stopped, but it was like
The damage was done.
The damage was done. I got out of the house at a really young age. I moved out
How old were you?
Well, I moved out before I graduated. I moved in with my dad for a little bit. Then I moved in with a friend. And then as soon as I graduated from high school, I had saved up enough money, and that's when I moved to California. And I moved because, number one, I wanted to pursue my career as a dancer, but also I could not wait to get away from that. I didn't want to sit in that. It didn't feel like a safe place. So
what sort of dance were you doing?
I was doing ballet, tap, and jazz. Mostly jazz and tap was my forte, but there wasn't a lot of tap jobs. It was mostly jazz and hip hop, and so I did hip hop too. And so it was so much fun to get to do music videos and get to dance and actually get paid to be creative and do what you love. So it was a dream come true to finally get to move to LA.
So you made it as a dancer?
I did, which is rare. It's,
How did you get that break?
Well, I moved out here. I didn't know anyone. I had a partial scholarship to UCLA, which I totally did not do. Instead, I went to the dance studio that I really, really wanted to be on their scholarship program. And I went every single day a month before the audition, and I took class every single day. So they would see my face and they would know just how bad I wanted it and that I was there. And I auditioned, and I was the worst dancer. Like, I might have been a good dancer for that small town in Greenville, Texas, but I was the worst dancer. And I think they took me on scholarship because they're like, oh, bless her heart, she needs help. Okay, we'll take you, But
and you would have been an amazing dancer next to me, because I tried out this was a dare for Laker Girls, and Lisa Estrada, who's the director of Laker Girls, you should see the look on her face when she saw me prance across the basketball court.
Oh my God, it's brutal though, right?
Yes.
So you have that experience. It's a lot of rejection, and that helped me later on in life with other job opportunities that might be a no, but I look at it as I'm redirected into something that I'm supposed to be doing instead.
So did you get in that? You got in there? You got accepted with that?
Well, for the dancing, yes. I did get the scholarship. Yes. I later was blessed. I mean, I worked my butt off, don't get me wrong, but I had an agent. But a month after moving to LA, I booked my first music video. I was dancing with MC Hammer. That's how old I am. Like, that was my first music video.
Wow, it's in MC Hammer, not how old you are.
Yeah. Wow, you're old. Yeah. Yeah, so it was so much fun. It was like incredible. And then I traveled across, the United States. I worked for Nike. I was in Japan. And what was so crazy is I would be in Japan. I would usually go twice a year, and was treated like you're treated like like royalty. I got a taste of how it felt like if you were a star because you were chauffeured everywhere. People were asking for your autograph. And then I would come home to my tiny little apartment in North Hollywood and just be like, okay, this is reality. I got to keep working. I got to keep going, because it was a lot of that.
Well, they're both realities, right? But it's the ups and downs.
It's the
isn't
ups and
it?
downs. And it's that way still
Which goes to
for
the
me.
resilience that you speak about in True Grit and Grace.
And I think that resilience is something that we all have, but it's like a muscle. If we have to use it to strengthen it, and it's something that's always there that we can tap into. And for me, all these things in life, all the rejections, all the failures, all the disappointments, you're able to redirect yourself, to build yourself back up, to dig deep and get gritty and find the resilience to move forward. So when something does come along that's devastating, you have that resilience strengthened and you can get through it. And so that's something I talk a lot about when I'm coaching clients is the PACER method that I came up with that's kind of a reminder for me.
How did you come up with that method? What was the catalyst for that?
Well, I live with chronic pain every day. I have a nerve disease called CRPS, and I was at an event with a friend, and I was like, okay, it's time to go. That's as much pain as I can handle today. And she said, what is it in you? What do you do every day that allows you to thrive despite your pain? She goes, because you have a full life. What do you do? And I really thought about it. She goes, you need to write down what it is. So we got home at dinner that night. I was having dinner with my husband, and he was like, you really need to pace yourself. And I was like, I am pacing myself, and my pace is full throttle. And then I thought about it, and I thought, really, the things that I do every day, I came up with pace. I started writing down on a dinner napkin. We had to-go boxes, and my leg propped up because it was throbbing. And I started writing on the napkin, and I wrote, the first thing I do is perspective. The A is for acceptance, the C is for community, E is for endurance, and R is for rest. And if I'm not doing all those things, then I'm not as resilient. And so when I was explaining this, I was like, and yeah, he was like, yeah, you do this, you've got a great community. And it got to the rest, he was like, you are so full of crap. He goes, you do not rest. And I was like, I'm still learning to rest, but all these things are important. We need to rest in order to, it's not about just enduring pain. It's about resting so we can be resilient.
To give the viewers an understanding of the level of pain, could you give could you sort of verbalize or somehow take that feeling and make it tangible for people?
It is like people don't understand that I hurt every day. In fact, most people that have this disease, it's called the suicide disease because it's ranked highest on the pain scale and there's no known cure. So it hurts worse than a kidney stone. It hurts worse than having a baby. And I've been through both of those. And I can attest that it's worse. It's the worst pain I've ever had. And it's
constant pain.
And it's constant. When you're having a flare-up, it's really bad. If you're not having a flare-up, it's always there. And so it's about finding ways to take your mind off of it, finding ways to, because it's so much about mental. It's so much about your mindset.
And you take no painkillers?
No, let me tell you, I was taking some Excedrin double strength yesterday because I was hurting. But it took me years to get out of denial. I was in denial. I was like, there's no way that I was thinking I've done everything right. I eat healthy. I train hard. I'm a nice person. This can't be right. This cannot be my life. And so I was in denial and I didn't take any medicine. I ignored my body. I stuffed down the pain and then I started self-medicating. And it took a long time. And I finally was like, okay, it would be like a diabetic not taking their insulin. And, I share what I take. I take Lyrica, which slows the nerve pathway down. And it works for some people, it doesn't work for others. And you definitely need to have a good doctor that is open-minded about all different types of treatments, because I tried everything. I mean, I tried Eastern, Western medicine. At one point, I was on 73 homeopathic pills along with 11 different prescriptions, and nothing was working. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars. And when I say that, I'm only sharing that to show you I was so desperate to get out of pain that I was willing to do anything. So I was a good target for any snake oil salesman. Like, anybody said this will get you out of pain, I'm like, okay, I'll try it. Now
Do you coach? So the clients that you coach, are they typically recovering from a surgery, say from cancer? Who is this other person that you typically help? And what
It's
do you do with them?
interesting because I went from training clients and having trainers that worked for me, and I was in the fitness industry, and I coached a few clients, and I went from that to I still have a few clients because I love fitness as my passion, but I just transformed it into coaching. And the type of clients that I have are people that are either way, either going through something devastating, some kind of trauma that they've never really processed or dealt with, or I'm sure you probably have a lot of people ask you this. I have a lot of clients, they're like, how do I write a book? How do I become a coach? And another question I get a lot is, how do you work out in pain? How do you stay fit when you have this chronic pain?
Because you, again, for people who haven't met you yet, you went through a devastating accident and you had, was it 34 surgeries?
Wow, you've got a good memory. Yeah, I had 34 surgeries. I think I'm done with surgeries. But that was hard. And it's like, okay, yeah, I had 34 surgeries, but that was hard. But we have a way of kind of, when we've gone through something that has been painful, it's kind of like having a baby. When you have a baby, you kind of forget how bad it hurts, and you're like, oh, I'm going to have another baby, and then you're like, oh yeah, this was hard.
I didn't go through that feeling because I did natural childbirth and I wanted to have another child, but I think I haven't
No
because
pain.
I didn't process, because I didn't process some of the trauma, some of the trauma that was there from what happened afterwards.
Yeah.
So afterwards, right, you're helping them process trauma, right? Because so in True Grit and Grace, do you go through that process, not just having the resilience, but how to address trauma as well?
Yeah, I talk a lot about how important mindset is, how important, and we all know, we have to have a right mindset, but how do you do that? Well, for me, what worked for me was, first of all, I had to practice gratitude, and I really believe in gratitude. And it's easy to say, oh, yeah, I'm grateful to be here with you today. I'm grateful I can breathe. But when you're stuck in a hospital bed and life really sucks, or even if you're not,
dancer,
and
a dancer,
and my whole livelihood was dependent upon my legs, and here I am laying there. I don't even know if I'm going to have a leg. And then from doing that and thinking, okay, well, I kept my leg. They did all these surgeries to save it, but now I'm diagnosed with this disease, and you're telling me to get back in my wheelchair and things will never be good and I'll be permanently disabled. At that moment, I'm like, okay, I have to do something right here. I can either go down that road of despair and depression and self-pity and why me, or I can choose to be grateful for what I do have, choose to find the joy in life and create that joy. And that's what I talk about a lot in the book is, how do you find joy? How do you have a life of joy when you've gone through something that hard? And it's not always easy when you're in it to see it, but I like to show people there is a way and there is hope, and you can find that.
I have 2 more questions for you. Someone goes through an absolute tragedy, and at that point, an unimaginable tragedy, and they're saying, why me? So what is your, having gone through extreme tragedy, what is your understanding of why for someone who doesn't understand yet?
I think that if you get caught up in saying, why me, you're going to get stuck in that victim mentality. And it's okay to feel sad and feel angry. We just don't want to stay there.
So process the feelings. You have to
Yes.
have the support.
You have to have the support, and I'm a firm believer in a community. Like, I have an amazing community, and someone said, well, you're lucky you have a community. And I'm like, no, it's not just luck. It's hard work puts you where your blessings can find you, and you have to be willing to step out and reach out to people and be of service to them. And that is one thing that really helped me, that even though I was stuck in a hospital bed, I could still be of service to others. I was writing out exercise plans for people. The nurses would come in my room and I was telling them what exercises to do. I was, consulting people on the phone, even though I'm stuck in the hospital bed. So I think there are ways to be of service. Even if you can't do something like that, you can be there for a friend just to listen to them.
That's so powerful that you can be in a really difficult place and still be of service to others, which leads me to my last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
I think I would like to be remembered for someone that shows others that no matter what their circumstances are, no matter if their circumstances have narrowed their possibilities, that they can have the life that they have always imagined with grit and grace.
Beautiful. Amberly, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm Joanna Garzilli. You're watching Life Stories. Today, my guest was Amberly Lago, author of True Grit and Grace, a must-read book. And you can binge watch all the episodes at lifestoriestelevision.com, and also watch all the other fabulous shows on Evertalk TV at evertalktv.com. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time.